So for the next video, I'm going to be talking about COVID-19. So what is COVID-19? It's an infectious disease that is caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus. It's spread through droplets in the air, usually from person to person. The first reported case was back in December 1st, 2019. And then the pandemic really in the United States really started around March of 2020. It originated in animals and then it mutated and it was able to be spread from one human to the other. So usually symptoms don't show up until 2 to 14 days after contact. And the problem with that is that, let's say that you've had COVID for 2 weeks and you haven't developed symptoms yet. You've already spread it basically to many people. And that's one of the biggest issues with COVID-19. And that's why the pandemic has been very difficult to stop. And it's oftentimes it usually takes a week before you develop symptoms. By then you've already spread it to your family and friends and coworkers. So some common symptoms are a fever, a cough, tiredness, loss of taste or smell. Less common, sore throat, headache, aches and pains, diarrhea, a rash on the skin, discoloration of the fingers or toes, and red or irritation in the eyes. So for diagnosis, there's usually two tests. There's the viral test and the antibody test. The viral test, it usually tests to see if you are currently infected, and usually you use an antigen test. An antibody test, that's usually used to see if you were previously exposed. The body usually takes about 12 days to build antibodies for COVID-19. So that test is usually not what is given to someone if they feel like they have COVID. They usually would go with the antigen test route. As for treatment, most cases require rest and a lot of fluids. Severe cases require hospitalization. Usually that results in IVs, corticosteroids, assisted ventilation, and many more things. Most people that are hospitalized are because the patient is immunocompromised, meaning he or she already has another condition, or they may not be vaccinated. So usually if you are vaccinated, you do get a better chance of your body fighting off the virus without having to go to the hospital. So prevention, obviously, wearing masks, washing hands, and staying home if you feel under the weather. I think the biggest thing though is vaccination, because people think if you're vaccinated, there's no way you can't get COVID. No, you can get COVID, but your body will be able to protect you from certain symptoms and conditions that could cause severe damage later down in life. You know, some symptoms are minor, but some people who are not vaccinated still have brain fog from when they had COVID-19, and that can be permanent for the rest of their life. So a vaccination can help from preventing getting those symptoms. So some vaccines that are common in the United States and mostly around the world, there's Moderna. That's usually 2 doses taken 28 days apart. Its effectiveness is around 95%. It's usually given to people 18 years and older. Well, it used to be. Now kids under the age of 18 can. One of the downsides is it has to be stored in extremely cold temperatures, negative 20 degrees Celsius. And we've given out millions of doses. In the United States, I believe we have around 70 to 75% of the people fully vaccinated. As for Pfizer, it's also 2 doses, but it's only 21 days apart, 95% effectiveness. At this point, I think children at ages 8 and up can get the vaccine. It must be stored at negative 70 degrees Celsius, so that is a even bigger downside. The storage is an issue. But once again, many people have chosen to get the Pfizer vaccine, and it's a big part of the reason why we have close to 3/4 of the population fully vaccinated. And as for Johnson & Johnson, some people really like that because it's only one dose. However, the effectiveness is around close to maybe 70%. And it can last to 3 months at normal refrigeration temperatures. So that's one of the advantages that Johnson & Johnson has over Pfizer and Moderna. However, last year there was an issue with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. There, some of the vials that had the vaccine were not doing what it was supposed to do, and it caused some reactions for some people who actually took Johnson & Johnson. But that was all situated and figured out, and Johnson & Johnson is still considered a safe route as well. Not as well as Moderna and Pfizer, but it does do the job. One last thing I do want to talk about is the Palestinian vaccination rate is only 40%. And that's, of course, not acceptable at this point, considering it's been 2 years since the pandemic started. Many people have lost their lives from this vaccine. And I think it's very important to bring that vaccination rate up. And that's why I made these videos, because I wanted people to see that vaccines do help and they do save lives. And even if it doesn't kill you, even if the COVID-19 doesn't kill you, if you're not vaccinated, it's not going to feel good for a couple of weeks. The vaccine can protect you from that. So I hope this could help a couple people. Maybe the word can spread around in Palestine that vaccines are good and people will be more willing to get the vaccine. And these are my references.